Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Daniel Barriga. I'm an airbrush artist out of Lodi, California. Today I'm using the Sparmax Zeta. It's a very small compressor, making it very portable. You could take it with you on the job. Cool thing about this is once you take the airbrush off of the holder, the compressor starts. Once you put the airbrush back on the holder, it will stop. One of the great features about this compressor is it's very portable and it's quiet. This entire painting was powered by the Sparmax Zeta. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Right here I'm working with the Sparmax DH125. Spray a little bit of paint on paper to see how it was performing. If I see it's real nice and smooth and no splatters, I go ahead and work on the surface. I've already sprayed green to create the ground on this. Pretty much all the work was done in kind of a not so saturated green, and I'm using black paint just to punch up the contrast to make these the ground cracks pop out. I have a torn piece of paper. I'm just using the edges of that paper just to kind of define the edges of the ground a little bit more. I look for edges that match, and then I go ahead and spray it in. Here I'm just adding water, reducing my paint. Go ahead and spray it on some paper. I always check to see if the airbrush is spraying good, there's no splatter going on. And I move to the clouds, and I go ahead and just work in that real reduced black paint. And I'm moving my hand in a random pattern since these clouds are kind of random. It works out pretty good. Going ahead and adding some black to this plane, getting it real close. It gives you fine lines. The whole time when I'm spraying, I have the trigger down, so I have the air on all the time. If you notice my finger moving, that's not pressing on the air, it's actually pulling back just a hair on the trigger to give me paint. So once again, I have the air down the whole time, and you can hear the air on. And if you see my finger move just a little bit, it's just throwing out just a little bit of paint at a time. Made a stencil out of some paper. I'm just placing it in there. I tape it down in place and then spray a little bit of black inside. Just going over the existing green, just bumping up the contrast just a little bit. You can see I changed my airbrush to the Sparmax SP20X. This airbrush has a removable cup. Right now I'm working without it. Reducing my paint, spraying it on paper. If I like what I see, I'll go ahead and apply it to my painting. And I go ahead in the ground and just kind of define these edges a little bit freehand. And my ratio of paint I'm working with is probably 6-part water, 4-part paint. Use the same ratio with the shadows. If you notice with my shadows, the distance from my airbrush to the surface is further away than the cracks I did on the ground. Just remember, when you're further away from the surface, it spreads out the amount of dots. Right here, I'm just spraying a little bit of that black there on the back end of the car, giving it a little bit more contrast back there. And it's so fine, you might not even be able to see the adjustments on the screen, but it's there. It's freehanding some of these black shadows right underneath the door, underneath the car, towards the back. So pay attention to the distance. The distance that the airbrush has to the surface plays a huge role. The closer you are to the surface with the airbrush when you're spraying, the more dots you're going to put in one area. If you put the airbrush further away from the surface, you're going to spread out those dots. Right here it looks like I have some splatter. I'm just showing you guys how I take that out. Just get a razor blade and tap it, and it takes those splatter dots out. There's quite a bit of them. I'm going to go ahead and work back to the clouds, and you can see now I changed my airbrush again. This is the SP35, and I have white in there now, and I'm just bumping up the contrast with white now. Making sure that splatter's gone. Spraying a little bit of white near the sign, in the cloud area. Once again, I reduced my paint right here. Probably working with the same ratio, maybe 6-part water, 4-part paint. Now when I did all my airbrush work in green, I went ahead and I clear coated the whole panel. So all of this work that I'm doing right now, it's actually on a clear coat layer. When I was done clearing it, I went ahead and I sanded it with 2000 grit, and all of this contrast work in black and white that I'm doing is on top of that clear coat layer. So if you guys remember the specks of white that I took out with the razor blade, I was able to do that without damaging the green paint because I'm working on the translucent clear coat layer. I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time and watching this. You guys could see and hear how well the compressor performed. Once again, it's called the Zeta from Sparmax. You can go to www.sparmaxair.com.